We now call to order the Tuesday, March 17th meeting of the Corte Madera Town Council. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Andrews,
Present.
Councilmember Beckman,
Here.
Councilmember Avazio,
Here.
Vice Mayor Casissa,
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Please join me as we salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
We now move to open time. Any member of the public may address the town council concerning any item not on the council's agenda this evening. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and unless otherwise, the public will be given an opportunity to speak on each agenda item when it is called. But at this time, we will only speak on items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone in the room who would like to speak?
Thank you. That's okay. There you go. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Jeremiah Mock, and I live on Pixley. I just wanted to mention that I saw a report recently that the city of Burlingame has decided to take a very difficult action and begin to cut down all of the giant eucalyptus along El Camino. They're obviously part of the town's identity, and it's very difficult for them. On Pixley, right at the base of my driveway, there is an enormous eucalyptus tree, and then there's a line of them further out into the condominium complex. And that tree, I feel, is a huge hazard for us. As you probably remember, in a recent storm, there was another giant eucalyptus tree that was by the tennis courts in Town Park, and that tree split, fractured, dropped a massive branch and had to be cut down. And so for the benefit of all of us that live out in that condo complex, I would really like to urge whoever it is that's responsible for tree management on city property to take a very close look at all of the eucalyptus there and consider removing them, because they're a massive fire hazard for us. And even just a hazard if the wind takes them down. We're all blocked in. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Anyone online who would like to speak open time?
Yes, we have a hand raised from Roy Wolford.
Go ahead, Roy.
Good evening. I thank the town manager, staff, and the Flood Control Board for the flood recovery workshop and the follow-up documentation. The town has done meaningful work over the years, including the check valves in Mariner Cove and the storm drain master plan, and those efforts matter. But we now have clear evidence that the core driver of the December-January tidal flooding was not sea level rise. It was subsidence. A flood control board chair, or as flood board control chair, Nathan Bloomgren, explained during the workshop, since Mariner Cove was built in the late 1950s, one area has settled 4.2 feet while sea level rose over the same period of time 6 inches. That means nearly 90% of the elevation loss is from settlement, not from seas rising. Why does this distinction matter? Because if we misidentify the cause, we misdesign the solution, and we misspend public and private money. Areas built on bay mud and fill have sunk below the tides. When the bay is higher than the land, water will always find its way unless we create a perimeter that keeps it out. That's why the town needs a unified, long-term plan for a full perimeter berm with floodgates and pump stations. This is the only structural solution that addresses the actual cause of flooding in Mariner Cove, Marina Village, and other low-lying neighborhoods. We want to adapt and Be Adept. That's a title of a book I recommended to the council and staff, and it captures the mindset we need: practical, data-driven, and cost-effective. From the flood recovery updates, I'd like to see 3 additions. First, the bullet points written for Marina Village should explicitly apply to Mariner Cove and any other neighborhood affected by tidal flooding. The underlying conditions are the same. Second, the town should identify short-term solutions beyond raising structures. Home elevation is one tool, but is not the only one. Residents need clear guidance on temporary and semi-permanent flood protection options, including types of barriers, cost, and how adjacent property owners can coordinate perimeter protection together. Third, the town should provide detailed information on best practices for raising homes, engineering requirements, seismic strengthening, regulatory pathways, and realistic full project cost ranges. Finally, the town should begin the process of securing approvals from regional, state, and federal agencies for long-term perimeter protection. These approvals take years, and the sooner we start, the sooner we can protect homes, businesses, and town infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else online?
We don't have any other hands raised from our attendees online, and we didn't receive any emailed public comment for open time.
All right, thank you. We have no presentations this evening. We move on to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are grouped together, which are routine or have been discussed previously and do not need further discussion. They are approved with a single motion. Any member of the public may comment on the consent calendar, and town council, town staff, or public may request removal of an item for discussion as allowed. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
We did receive an emailed public comment for item 4C, which was sent to council earlier in the day and made available for the public through the town's website earlier this afternoon. No other public comments were received for items on the consent calendar.
Thank you. Do any of the members of the council have comments or removal of anything? All right, then. So I call please for a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 4A through 4E.
I'll second. On the consent calendar? I thought I did that already. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Wanted to double check. Okay, so the motion was made by Councilmember Andrews, okay, and seconded by Councilmember Ravazio. Okay, I'll call the roll. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman,
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you. We move on to public hearings. 5A, consideration and possible action to introduce an ordinance adding 5.07 to the Corte Madera Municipal Code, establishing minimum pricing for packages of cigarettes, cigars, little cigars, smokeless tobacco, prohibiting the redemption of coupons and discounts, banning the sale of electronic smoking devices and heated smoking systems, and tobacco or nicotine pouches, and imposing other requirements. We have a staff report from Rebecca Vaughn, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. There are my slides. Item 5A is a follow-up to your March 3rd discussion of proposed Chapter 5.07 regarding a minimum floor pricing law for certain tobacco products and prohibition of specific tobacco and nicotine products. My goal tonight is to briefly summarize what you directed staff to change and confirm what remains the same and outline the decision points before you this evening. Next slide, please. On March 3rd, the council reviewed the county-aligned ordinance and received public comment and directed staff to return with specific updates. The direction was to bring back a version aligned with the town of Fairfax's adopted approach, and to correct and clarify enforcement language identifying the appropriate county role, and to maintain the county aligned enforceable date to allow time for outreach and training. All town of Corte Madera licensed tobacco retailers were notified of the town council meeting tonight. Next slide, please. This slide is the key update. The revised ordinance now prohibits the sale of tobacco or nicotine pouches. This is the Fairfax aligned change and is different from the version reviewed on March 3rd, where pouches had been included under the minimum floor pricing requirements. To be explicit, the revised ordinance before you, pouches move from being price regulated to being sale prohibited. The revised ordinance also corrects and clarifies enforcement language so that it's clear that the enforcement authority is assigned to the appropriate county of Marin position consistent with the county program. Other than those updates, the ordinance structure and approach remain consistent with the county model framework that council discussed on March 3rd. Next slide, please. As a reminder, the revised ordinance still has the same three-part structure. It establishes minimum package sizes and minimum prices for specified tobacco products. So the minimum floor pricing component remains in place for products like cigarettes, little cigars, and smokeless tobacco. It prohibits coupons, discounts, and promotional pricing. So the minimum price structure can't be undermined at the register. It also includes operational requirements like prominent price display and sale only in manufacturer packaging that complies with applicable federal requirements. And finally, it prohibits the sale of electronic smoking devices and heated smoking systems and their components and parts, and now also prohibits tobacco or nicotine pouches, which is the key Fairfax aligned change. Next slide, please. In terms of timing, if council introduces the ordinance tonight, staff would return at a subsequent meeting for adoption consistent with the town's ordinance process. Staff recommends keeping the enforceable date aligned with the county at September 1st, 2026 to provide clear education and training period for retailers. County Health and Human Services provides the retail training resources, including live trainings and short videos, and compliance checks would be handled through the county program under the sheriff's ordinance framework with no cost to the town anticipated for compliance monitoring. So council's options tonight are to consider introducing the ordinance as presented, direct revisions or additional outreach, and direct staff to return at a later date, or decline to introduce. And this concludes staff's summary. Staff believes the revised ordinance reflects the council's March 3rd direction, particularly with the addition of the pouch prohibition, and recommends introduction tonight. County staff Anita Renzetti, who provided a presentation to you at the last meeting, is also present in the audience tonight if you have any specific questions that I might not be able to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the dais? Councilmember Ravazio.
Thank you, Mayor. My only question for staff is there anything in passing, if we pass this ordinance tonight, is there anything that hinders our ability to pass a more stringent ban on sales in the next month or two? Is there anything here that causes us delays in what I think many of us are ultimately seeking?
No, there would be no delay in that process. What is before you tonight would enact the county's model ordinance, which becomes enforceable September 1st, 2026. So adopting something now, even though it becomes effective in 30 days, would begin enforcement September 1st. Staff doesn't have a timeline to bring something back yet, but we just need some time to prepare, and those two can happen in tandem. Just anything you adopt would become enforceable September 1st, and anything you look at subsequently would have a different enforceable date.
Yeah. but it's, okay, thank you.
No prohibition on you discussing one after adopting the other.
Councilman Casissa.
Yeah, I think at the last meeting, we talked about potentially doing more restrictions, maybe down the road. What more restrictions can we do?
Additional restrictions would include the study on the feasibility and logistics of a total ban on sales of tobacco and nicotine products in town. I don't necessarily know what other additional restrictive actions you could take within the context of the tobacco and nicotine products. You could look at possibly limiting additional types of tobacco or nicotine products. But really what the council was considering was asking staff to bring back a total sales ban and what that would look like and what the feasibility and logistics would entail.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions down here?
No, I had a question, but I researched it a bit and found what I was looking for. So.
Okay, good. All right. So at this time, I'm going to ask for public comment on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak will have 3 minutes. You can make your way to the microphone and please speak loudly so that they can hear us out there in Zoom land.
And while we're waiting for that, I can also ask if during the context of comments, maybe county staff might be able to expand on any other additional restrictive practices that council could examine.
Just gonna note that I think Mayor Thomas formally opened the public hearing at this point in time. Is that right? For public comment.
Yes. Mhm.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. As you know, I'm Jeremiah Mock. I'm here tonight to provide you with some more information to build on the important work that you're considering doing tonight. The first page of this is a quote from the former mayor of Beverly Hills, who was the champion of the first sales ban in the country. He said, "We wouldn't let stores sell edible rat poison for human beings. If we truly want to lead, we have to have the courage of our convictions." And I can see that you have the courage of your convictions. On the next page, you'll see a graph that I created from the California Healthy Kids Survey data. This shows the alarming problem that we face in Marin County. If you look across the bottom, you see the trends in California statewide and San Mateo County, which is a good comparator for Marin County. And you see the alarming high levels of nicotine vaping among 11th graders. Even more alarming is the next page, which is on cigarette smoking. And this is why it's so important to follow through with a complete sales ban. You can see while statewide and in San Mateo County, the trend is downward to 1%. The data are alarming in Marin County in general, rising to 8%, and in Tamalpais High School, rising to a shocking 12%, completely in the wrong direction. So if you leave cigarettes on the market, you're just encouraging young people to become addicted. The next page are just some of the many diseases that are caused by cigarette smoking. It's very well established. This is an extremely harmful product. For anybody who believes the next page, for anyone who believes that cigar smoking is not a problem, cigar smokers are 4 to 10 times more likely to develop cancers of the oral cavity, esophagus, and larynx. Sorry for the graphic pictures, but this shows you what the reality is. A study was just published showing that e-cigarettes are nearly as bad. So don't believe the narrative from the tobacco industry lobbyists when they claim that these are so-called harm reduction products. They're not. They're just authorized by the FDA to market. They are not approved. They are not FDA approved for cessation. If you look at the next page, you'll see that a study has just been conducted in Sweden, showing that people suffer tremendous problems with ulcers and long-term problems using nicotine pouches. These products are not authorized, or they're not approved as FDA cessation. And the last page is some of the things we're seeing on social media, people posting ulcers in their mouth. And finally, the most shocking is that nicotine pouch poisoning has risen dramatically between 2020 and 2023, 793% increase in reports to poison control centers. These products are dangerous and deadly. So you taking them off the market now is very, very powerful message. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. My name is John Ma. I was the 2018 president of the San Francisco Marin Medical Society, who've sent a letter in support. We applaud your efforts this evening. Thank you for this conversation. We support whichever the options that you do choose. You know, it's been 62 years since the landmark U.S. Surgeon General's report on smoking and health was published, and it's been tens of millions of Americans lost in the intervening period. Even at the height of the pandemic, the number of deaths each year from smoking exceeded COVID at the very height. In 1984, the California Medical Association adopted policy with a plan to end the commercial sales of tobacco products by the year 2000, which was 26 years ago. The American Medical Association just last year introduced policy seeking to phase out all commercial tobacco product sales in America in the upcoming years. I really wanted to highlight that the Marin Civic Center Board of Supervisors leadership are closely following what you'll do as part of this movement that's growing all across Marin County to decide next steps. And there is the hope that there will be a second effort at the Marin Civic Center to move towards a complete end to sales. But I just wanted to finish by really highlighting the main reason I came this evening was to honor my friend Doug McConnell, someone who is well known to this city. I had the good fortune to meet him through the American Heart Association through the Heart Walk, and he was a strong champion for cardiovascular health. And I was really honored to spend time with him in his hospital room at Marin Health just hours before Tiburon voted to end the sales of commercial tobacco products permanently. Doug was overjoyed. He was so pleased to hear of this progress forward in Marin, and he so looked forward to the opportunity to be here tonight to speak on behalf of this effort moving forward in Corte Madera. So in his honor, I really just wanted to highlight how important this was to him, you know, as one of the leading outstanding citizens of Corte Madera. Just wanted to thank you for considering this important step forward. The San Francisco Marin Medical Society fully supports your decision. So thank you.
Good afternoon, Town Council members and Mayor. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for you all taking your time to listen and carefully consider a matter that is of utmost importance to us in our community. Previously, I had shared data on why we fully support the restriction of ending tobacco product sales, but today I would like to share you my why. As a member of TUPE, Tobacco Usage Prevention Education, many of us at the beginning of our presentation to middle schoolers choose to share the reason we decided to join the program. This is mine. I grew up never truly getting to know my dad. He experimented at age 8 with his grandpa's cigarette and never stopped since. Ultimately, he became a cocaine addict during his teen years. People who both knew us were always fascinated by how we looked so much alike, from our smiles to the way we cared about helping people in need. Unfortunately, we never experienced true time together. On his funeral, August 9th, 2025, I was able to witness beautiful stories about the selfless and kind man he was. Now, the only way I can remember my dad's scent is if someone was to light up a cigarette. And this is no way to remembering a parent. I decided to spread his story and tell others that they are not alone. They can and will recover. And with the help of the amazing town council members of Corte Madera, we can make sure that there are less addictions resulting in the loss and separation of families. I urge you to implement a total ban of tobacco products, including pouches. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Anita Renzetti. I work with the County of Marin Tobacco Prevention Program. And I just wanted, Rebecca had said maybe I could talk a little bit about what the other options might be. I think that when there's for example, when there is a minimum floor pricing and pack size law, this didn't come out of nowhere. This was actually something that was helped to be put into place by 55 jurisdictions in California who already passed similar laws, ordinances. And so the Public Health Law Center, which is out of Hamline University in Minnesota, they were the ones that helped to shape some of the language, and some of the choices were then discussed with each of those jurisdictions. So you can, and if you want to, we can help with adding anything else you're interested in adding, but there's an unlimited number of possibilities there. And it would just become increasingly complex to enforce, to educate and enforce. Right now, we plan to do separate little videos because we've found that if you don't have really clear written and bilingual information, and also little clear videos on each separate topic, like pack size is its own little video with pictures, and with a staff member of mine who's also fortunately bilingual, doing one in English and Spanish. So if we had to do that for all of, it's going to be for anyone that passes these that go into effect on September 1st. So for example, Fairfax would have one, and then they'd have one extra because of the nicotine and tobacco pouches. But if you can imagine, we could add on a whole bunch of other things, different types of rules, different signs that they have to post as you walk in. All of these things would have to be educated on, and the sheriff's department would have to have it on the checklist. So it's doable. It's just a little more complicated than you might want. One of the ideas with alignment across the county was to make it clearer to retailers who often talk to each other and who are often physically pretty close to each other. So that was one of the ideas, that the best practices were to try and get alignment and have people on the same page. But again, tonight you can make decisions. You can decide whatever you decide about what we call the minimum pricing law for short, or the end to tobacco and nicotine sales. And the county will support you, and we will support your businesses. We have meetings coming up with the Economic Development Agency within the county, as well as another meeting coming up with the tobacco retailers, a work group to help them to transition away from tobacco and similar products to much healthier, more family-friendly products, and without losing revenue. Glad to answer any other questions at all.
Thank you. Do we have any folks online who would like to speak?
We do. We have two hands raised, one from Monty. We'll start with him.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm a small business member in Corte Madera, and I urge you to reconsider this ordinance. The pouches are tobaccoless. It's a healthier alternative. We are banning products because the youth is doing it, right? Well, why is the youth not being held responsible when they're caught doing this? Why am I the one, or other retailers getting the blame for such acts when we're not selling to the youth? How is the youth getting it? This has been a problem since electric products came out, and you guys were blaming us, and they still have it when I can't sell it. So how is this happening? Why is there not a better investigation going on how they are getting it? I understand that this is going to happen, and I urge you, and I am asking, after this ban, when this continues, what are we going to do? Are we going to keep blaming me, other retailers like this? This is not the solution. The solution is awareness, teaching the individuals that this is bad, and holding repercussions to the young youth when they are caught doing such acts. They need to be held responsible when they're doing this. This is against the law. The age requirement is 21. You cannot do these products when you're not that age. Who's giving it to them? Where is these results? I understand that we want to ban tobacco. What about the members in Corte Madera that indulge in these tobaccos? What about the tourists that come to Corte Madera that indulge in these? We're just gonna ban this and let these members that indulge in this go to a neighboring, and they're just gonna buy in bulk now? I don't think we're solving the issue. I commend the fact that you guys are working to help the youth. I have kids of my own. I would hate the fact that these kids are doing it, but I don't think we're taking the right approach. Council members, mayor, I think that we need to get together and discuss alternative ways to stop the youth and tackle this in a healthier way. This is a California regulated product all over California, and Corte Madera is going to ban it. You're not stopping anyone, not one person you're going to stop from smoking. They're just going to go to the neighboring place and find the product. These products are found online. I'm a regulated FDA, have all the licenses to sell proper products. Now you're going to give them something that's going to come out of state. Thank you, members, for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Okay,
Thank
next
you.
we have Jaime Rojas.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jaime Rojas. We appreciate the town's efforts to address the youth access on tobacco and nicotine products. As our member retailers with the National Association of Tobacco Outlets, we represent retailers across California and here small businesses in Corte Madera. Our members support the goal of preventing youth access to tobacco and nicotine products. Responsible retailers take this seriously and already operate under some of the most strictest laws of the country, including California's Tobacco 21 law, licensing requirements, and regular compliance checks. The retailers in Corte Madera have had a successful rate of 98% success in new sting operations in the past 5 years. California already has the strongest regulations in the country, including age verification requirements, retailer licensing, and penalties for violations. Many of the retailers we work with have strong compliance records and take their responsibility seriously. However, we're concerned that this ordinance places additional restrictions on retailers who already follow the law. Policies like minimum pricing requirements and product bans do not target bad actors. They apply to every licensed retailer, including those with strong compliance records. In many cases, these types of local restrictions do not reduce demand. But as mentioned before, instead they shift the purchases of neighboring cities without similar policies. When that happens, local businesses lose customers and the community loses sales tax revenue while adult consumers simply shop elsewhere. Small independent retailers operate on very thin margins, and additional restrictions like these have real economic impacts to local stores and the families who they depend on. These are often small, family-owned neighborhood businesses that provide jobs and essential goods to the community. Rather than broad bans and pricing mandates, we encourage the town to focus on enforcing existing laws, continuing youth prevention efforts, and direct addressing underage access through enforcement and education. Local retailers want to be part of the solution, and we welcome the opportunity to work with Corte Madera on practical approaches that protect youth while also supporting responsible small businesses in this community. We respectfully ask the council to carefully consider the potential impacts this ordinance may have on responsible local businesses as it considers this proposal. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Next we have Bob Curry.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Bob Curry, co-chair of the Smoke-Free Marin Coalition. Excuse me. I have worked for over 3 decades in tobacco prevention, including over 20 years in Marin County. I'm going to keep my remarks brief, as you have heard and studied the facts related to this deadly product that the tobacco industry has intentionally marketed to many generations to increase their bottom line. My main concern, as is yours, is to protect our youth who are being aggressively marketed with new tobacco and nicotine products. The industry has no intention of changing their strategy and do whatever it takes to addict new users. Corte Madera has an excellent record of protecting the health of all residents. I applaud you for bringing forward the ordinance that you have before you, and also continue discussions on a complete ban in the future. Thank you for your leadership and commitment to the health and well-being of your residents. Thank you.
We don't have any other hands raised from attendees online, and all of the public comments that were received and sent to council were added to the website, and are made available to the public.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the council at this time?
I do.
Councilman Casissa?
Thank you. I'm going to go out on a limb here. What I would actually like to see us do is actually pause the ordinance and have staff come back with what a full ban would look like. For some reason, this thing really hit a note or a chord with me. And I'm just going to tee it up this way. I'm not a medical professional, but to me, this is a medical crisis to a certain degree. We've heard from a lot of the youth what's going on. I don't think that anybody really understands the long-term effects of these products on our youth, and they may not do that for years. Most of the public comment we received, probably at least 97%, was for a ban, as far as I can tell. With respect to the businesses, I don't think we're blaming any of the businesses, so we're not looking at them taking fault for that. We have to keep in mind, though, I think 4 out of the 7 businesses are big box office, and that's Safeway, Total Wines, and Chevron, which I don't think a large percentage of their sales are from tobacco products, or probably from their main products, which are groceries and gas. And I did have our director of finance pull some data. It was kind of rough about sales tax revenue coming into the town. It's probably proprietary, so I'm not going to mention number, but fiscal impact to the town, it's totally minimal. There's not a lot, which to me reflect that there's probably not a lot of sales either. That's my 2 cents on that. The fourth thing is on the restrictions. I've heard from the county, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we can do restrictions, but it gets more complicated. I don't know how much more we can do, and if we do this tonight, I know Pat, I think maybe brought up the question about can staff come back with a ban? To me, if we do this tonight, it doesn't make sense from my perspective, no offense, to come back with a ban in another month from now. To me, we'd almost have to let it take effect in September, give it maybe a little bit of time, and then do it. So if we're going to go that route, I'd rather just see us have staff come back with a ban to see what that looks like. And again, I just wanted to get that out there for any discussion or any other points. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other council member? Councilman Beckman?
Thanks. I share the same, I think, end goal as Fred. I think I have a different perspective on how best to get there. I think a lot of staff time and public input has gone into preparing the ordinance that's before us tonight. I think that it's important that we put our marker down, right? Draw a line in the sand and say that we're going to go on record tonight and move forward, with the policies that we had aligned on at the last meeting. And I think we gave clear direction. I believe it was unanimous, if I recall correctly. I think we gave clear direction at the last meeting that we are interested in seeing staff, lay out and execute a process of public engagement that would set the groundwork for us to adopt a full end of sales in Corte Madera. I don't know why we would hamstring ourselves and wait on doing anything at all while we wait for the full solution to be developed, which could be months. I'm eager to get this thing adopted tonight and make sure that we're on record as standing by the values that we all professed at the last meeting. I know I said this at our last meeting. I'm going to say it again because a member of the public brought it up. We can have a reasonable debate about whether adults have a right to indulge in products that are bad for them, but this is not about adults. This is about our youth. This is about kids in our community who are scared for themselves and scared for their friends because of being preyed on by a predatory industry that is selling them addictive and toxic products. Given that, I think we need to do right by local youth. I think we need to stand up and protect our kids and pass this ordinance tonight and stick by our previous direction to move forward with a public process that I think we're all in alignment on hoping will lead to an end of sales in Corte Madera. I also just want to speak to the public comment that was brought up earlier. This is not about evading accountability for those who continue to make illicit products accessible to our youth. We're going to continue to hold those bad actors accountable. Likewise, this is not about punishing folks who are selling legal products. It's simply about saying we don't wish to see the continued sale, the continued legalization of these dangerous and harmful products in our communities, given the incredibly harmful health outcomes that they're having on local kids. So I would like to make a motion to go ahead and introduce the ordinance as presented tonight, and that is, excuse me, an ordinance adding Chapter 5.07 to the Corte Madera Municipal Code, establishing minimum pricing for packages of cigarettes, et cetera, as published in the agenda packet. I'd like to move forward with that motion, and I'd also like to reaffirm our direction from the last meeting, directing staff to move forward with a public process of engagement with local vendors and community members and stakeholders that I believe will lead to an end of sales in Corte Madera before the end of this year.
Councilman Andrews, did you have something to add?
I do down here.
I'll second it.
Oh, okay.
I would like to say a few things if
yeah.
possible.
Councilmember Ravazio.
So I totally support Eli's position that we need to move ahead with both. I think we were the ones who started this process, believe it or not. It was when Rebecca and I decided to invite the Marin Healthy Youth Partnership to come and speak at our very first MCCM meeting in this building. And we got all those high school kids and we let them sit up here on the dais and tell us about their lives. And we had all the county supervisors here and we had all the people from Ross and Tiburon. And so this current push in Marin County started right here in Corte Madera. So just let's mark that little thing in the timeline. I do not think we need any public engagement. I think if you listen to what happened in Mill Valley tonight, I'm with Stephen Burke. Why are we taking so long? We know it's serious. We know as the school year goes on, the kids are, continuing to consume and become addicted. And I just think that there's no reason to delay this any longer. It's been delayed, as Dr. Moss so beautifully pointed out, for 60 years now. And I'm really angry that it's taken this long for the adults in the room to do the right thing. So I would propose that, yes, we second Eli's motion and pass that first ordinance. And then I think we should pass another motion asking the town staff to proceed as quickly as possible. I know you're swamped and it's a real job and a big job, but I do not think we need to do more public outreach. I think the public came to us on this one. And if there's any retailer in Corte Madera whose business is risked because they're not going to be able to sell tobacco, I don't want those people in our town. So why should we go out and spend taxpayer money listening to them? I mean, we don't need any more public input. We just need guts to do it. And so I don't know how that turns into a motion, but
Okay, well,
I'll leave that to the very capable mayor.
As mayor, will be the last to speak on this. I do not discount the importance of our business community, and I do think that on all matters, we are a community. And on all matters, whether they're controversial or it seems like everybody agrees, we do need to listen to each other. And in the end,
Absolutely.
Because we will always go to our businesses to help us. The schools go to the businesses to help them. We all work together, and I think that we all have to go through the process. And I very much value the processes that happen here in Corte Madera. There is a history of a lot of public engagement. And I think even on a matter that may appear to be as simple and cut and dry as, tobacco is extremely harmful for everyone. And I know that this gets couched a lot in it's doing it for the youth, but I do believe that the people who are supporting this the youth kind of, give it a little push because they're kids, right? But I think what people have been fighting for years is for tobacco use and these harms to be eliminated for everyone. So my position is to to engage the public. We can all emerge from this a little more on the same page. I want one little clarification, though. If any of the towns in Marin who don't adopt their own ordinance, by September, the county ordinance goes into effect anyway, right?
No.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The county's ordinance covers only county unincorporated areas.
Okay.
So most of West Marin, and then certain parts of like the Strawberry area of Mill Valley, Greenbrae. I know I'm forgetting places, but
yeah,
county
the county.
unincorporated area only.
Okay. All right then. So I would like the motion to be repeated since we've talked a lot since then.
If I could, the second motion, Eli had the first one.
Oh,
I think we should do that one first.
Well,
at the mayor's discretion.
Well, my question is, we have to vote on a motion before we present a new motion, right?
Yeah,
So is
there
that
was
what you're asking to vote on the first motion and then you're making another motion
That makes sense to
if
me.
it doesn't pass?
Yeah.
There was a motion made and it was seconded.
Right. Okay. So
Motion
let's
was to
repeat that
introduce
motion.
the ordinance, and the language used was as written in the agenda packet, and
Excuse
to
me.
reaffirm direction from the last meeting. That was the full motion made by Councilmember Beckman and seconded by Councilmember Andrews.
All right. So we had the second from
Councilmember Andrews.
Councilman. Okay.
So I
we'll call
I
it
would
a
take the vote.
We get it now?
Yes, Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman,
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
All right.
Then could I present a second motion? Just that,
Direction to
we
staff.
restate the intention of moving forward to a complete ban and direct the town staff to proceed quickly with that rather than waiting until after September. I don't know. I think we should talk about what is going to happen next. And if we're thinking that we're going to wait until September and then start talking about this again, I kind of need to know that. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand what would come next. Maybe that's a better question. Adam, what comes next in order to get to this ban? What do we need to do? What do you need to do? Big job.
No, I think we've already started some of the work, which relates to just looking at some of the other ordinances that have been adopted. I mean, we all have talked about the Beverly Hills example. I think there's Manhattan Beach. There's other communities that are going through this same exercise right now. So there's some research there. I do think, and my personal feeling, and maybe this is because I'm coming from community development, I've seen how public outreach does work ultimately to produce information or questions that you may not have thought of, and things that really can lead to compromise. So I do think that's an important piece of this. I don't think it needs to be a huge extended period of time. I would probably put it around, I think I mentioned Rebecca, summerish. You know, hopefully the early part of the summerish I'm hearing is the move that quickly. But Rebecca, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, that's, but I'm always of the mindset of just being thoughtful, bringing you something that you feel good about and that we all ultimately hopefully have more support for.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, maybe we do one, and if nobody comes, or if it's just the same business people, maybe we meet with them one-on-one. Jeremiah Mock, if I may, through the mayor, had some great ideas on how to help those businesses. You know, buy them one of those cool espresso automatic coffee makers or something where they can use those to offset their lost income. So I don't know if there's ways we can do that, but there are.
We'll look into, once we start that process, they can bring us ideas. We can get back to specifics.
Thank you, Adam, for that explanation.
It was
That's very
just
helpful.
going to say that solutions like what are currently being discussed are not currently agendized for discussion this evening, but part of Councilmember Beckman's motion was to affirm the direction provided at the March 3rd meeting. And I think as staff, we can take that as there is an interest in expediently evaluating options and bringing those back for consideration. And staff will be expedient. As our town manager has explained, we've already started looking at options and modeling our next steps after those that have tread this path before us.
Thank you.
So what you're saying is the second motion is unnecessary, except for just the conversation reemphasizes the importance of,
I withdraw my motion.
what?
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I trust my staff. So as long as I hear that, I'm happy. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. So,
I
with,
have one
oh,
question.
go right ahead.
We keep hearing that there's pouches all over the parking lots at Tam, Redwood, Archie, Williams. Okay. Has anybody ever tried to figure out where the hell the kids are getting it? And is it all coming from one location? Are they ordering it on Amazon? It's like, I'm just,
I think I will just say again, that's part of really looking at how to improve outcomes. I think the commenter said that, and that's part of what we can try to think about as we go through this process.
okay, thank you.
Right. All right, then. So that matter has been settled. We have a direction and we have a current ordinance. So we will move on now to our business item. Thank you.
You're going to have a
Thank
few
you for
more
coming.
meetings to attend.
All right. So discussion and item 6A, discussion and possible acceptance of the general fund revenue and expense report for the period ending January 2026. This item is continued from the March 3rd council meeting, and we have Chris Petlock, our finance director, presenting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just we wanted to put this on since Councilmember Casisa had some questions, just thought we'd put it on for business. And so we have this opportunity to answer questions that the council as a whole may have. And Chris is here to help support in answering those questions.
I just have two questions. Hopefully these are simple. One is in the report says sales tax receipts exceed previous year-to-date receipts, though the town's consultant HDL advises that the rest of the year may be down considerably. How much are they estimating our sales tax to be down? Oh, I'm sorry, you're giving us a presentation?
I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay.
I hope the report itself answers a lot of those for you. Yes, HDL at the most recent forecast projected a 10% cut to sales tax. And I've kind of baked that into our projections as we've been talking and going along. And even though I wasn't really prepared to talk about it at our budget update, I included that cut in that budget update as our year-end projection amount. And speaking frankly, we usually collect more than what they say we're going to collect. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen going forward, but generally the receipts have exceeded the forecast, which is fine by me.
Okay, and 10%, what does that equal dollar amount? Roughly?
It's about $850,000.
Yeah, it was close to $1 million was my recollection. That's what I told myself, that sounds like $1 million haircut. So
okay, and just one last question. There's a thing that says outside services are down like 2 million or 22% from previous year date, but staff expects us to catch up as the year progresses. we're going to burn through 2 million in outside services in the next like 3 or 4 months?
Very anecdotally was when I wrote this report, I've been asking around, are we not spending this money? Are there things in the works? And again, anecdotally, the general answer has been yes. I know I've had internal conversations with staff based on the way the world is right now. If you don't need to spend it, do not spend it. So, and I'm not very forceful about it, but I just kind of keep repeating that mantra. Be very careful.
Okay, and outside services, that's outside of police and fire, correct? So that's a town only?
Yeah, that doesn't include any of that. That's really consulting services. I know particularly there are some significant chunks in planning. I know just off the top of my head, Public Works, they have some significant money that they budgeted to spend, but I don't know that they're going to or not at this moment. I think planning does have some studies coming up, but I don't think it's going to eat all of that up. So again, anecdotal conversations. There are things in the works, but I don't know that we're going to burn through 2 million. It seems implausible to me, but I'm only passing on the information I've received.
All right, thanks.
Let me step back a minute. If you have prepared a report for us, please present it. If you'd like to make a presentation, I don't want to steal that. You put work into it, so.
The only thing, again, the report that I wrote just in essence says we're progressing very well. The revenues are slightly over where we would expect them to be year to date now that we've collected the first half of the property tax. Everything I see from the county says we're going to collect just a hair more than what we even expected. The only concern at this time, really, as I've been saying all along, is sales tax, and that's very volatile. And we're moving into budget season right now, so at least for CMFA. So we'll have some more clarity on the rest of our budgets in the coming weeks and months, and I'll keep reporting that. But I felt like this was good news year to date. We're progressing well. We're able to meet the needs of the town, and it seems like we're going to meet all of the objectives the council has set for us.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Ravazio.
Yes, so I'm glad to hear that we continue to be a poster child for fiscal sustainability in Corte Madera, which is really great. I've attended a couple of investment sessions up at Cal Cities, and I'm wondering what we're doing in that regard, that municipalities have opportunities to make certain investments. And so while we're building these nest eggs for future big capital projects, what else can we do to build our funds? Are we doing everything that we can?
Right now, I would say be very careful.
Don't invest in anything.
I don't know.
Bonds.
Well, and I would just say, rather than getting into sort of a discussion around our investment strategies right now, I think as it relates to the revenue and expense report, we do have an interest line. I mean, obviously interest is down. We have put some money into various different CDs related to some of our pension, what we're calling the pension reserve. There's a mix of different conservative options that we've put money into at this point in time. So we can come back and have a discussion about more or less other strategies that may be out there. But I think you're hearing from our finance director, which his opinion, which I share, is conservative is good right now.
Could we ask the finance committee to take this on and talk about it at a future meeting?
Absolutely, yes. And we've discussed already with them but in the past, we have discussed sort of different options that may be available. And so those are certainly things that committee could look at and bring that report up to the council for consideration.
I understand there's been some changes in the law that allow us to do more, I don't know whether it's risk adverse or whether it's more progressive. I think that gets into the weeds there, but I want to make sure it's happening.
Well, the 115 trust, which is the pension, that is subject to market risk. Okay, given the medium riskiness that we've signed up for. So
But can we avoid that risk?
what?
Can we avoid that risk?
Yeah, it's managed.
You know, there are, I'm just asking that it be explored.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm sure they probably already are. You guys are.
And
already
just one
working
other,
on
I would like to, if Mayor Thomas, if I can, I just wanted to go back to Councilmember Casisa's question, because I know in the report and the attachment, there's a couple of line items that are outside services. And so I just want to make sure that we're responding to the right, giving you the right information, because I do believe in outside services, the $13 million, sorry, it's this year in the town's approved budget, we do have $14.25 million in outside services. And I do believe that is police and fire. A significant amount of that is police and fire. Whereas if you go down further in the rec fund, certainly there's other outside services that are not that. And so I just want to make sure that we're responding and giving you the right information for which one were you specifically speaking to on that?
No, I was just trying to figure out the 2 million. Is that mostly, is that police, fire, town? Is it all three, or is it mostly centered around the town?
The line item with the number 611 before it, outside services, that's police and fire. And that's half year to date. We'll make the rest of those payments as required under the JPA agreements at the end of this month, and then at the end of June, that'll complete that line item at 611. Now there is another outside services line.
Chris, I think the council member, because his question was related to, we're $2 million under, what was it? Sorry, say it again. Under
I think we're 2 million. The staff report, I think, says we're 2 million or 22% like under, but it says that we expect to spend that money.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out, is that 2 million police, fire, town, or is it all three? Because it's hard to burn through 2 million in the next 3 or 4 months.
And I would agree with that sentiment. And so, yeah, there's a police and fire line, and we're exactly right at 50% of that. That's the line 611. And then there also is another outside services line where, yeah, we're not spending the money that's budgeted.
So it's related to the town then?
Yeah, it is. And planning, Department of Public Works and so on is the most significant portion.
I appreciate that, Chris, and thanks for indulging me and trying to make that as clear as possible.
Councilmember Andrews, did you have something?
Have you been tracking the price of asphalt over the last month?
Off the top of my head, I know it's about $1 million a mile to pave a street. So that's just back of the envelope numbers for me.
Yeah, no, but I
But
mean,
the actual price of, I wouldn't even want to look at that right now. It's all petroleum based. So I'm sure it's just, it's a great place for you to maybe think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Finance Director Petlock. We have, can we open it to public comment?
Doesn't look like we have any hands raised from our online attendees, and we didn't receive any emailed public comment for this item.
Okay. And for this item, I think we are just accepting, we don't actually need a vote.
We typically approve it through the vote in the consent calendar, so we should probably take a motion on this to formally approve it. It does go on the website after it's approved by council.
Okay. All right. So who would like to
I would move that
Accept
we,
it.
make a motion to accept?
Yes, accept item.
second.
I'll move for a second. We're done.
Okay. So we have
Okay, so I have a first from Councilmember Andrews, second from Councilmember Ravazio. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman,
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, then, moving right along here, we go to our item 6B, consideration and possible approval of policy for nominations and selection process for the annual selection of Citizen of the Year And we have Assistant Town Manager Rebecca Vaughn presenting on this. Thank you.
Okay, there are my slides. Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. This item asks council to review and approve. A squeaker. Asks council to review and approve a proposed policy for the town's annual Citizen of the Year nomination and selection process, and to direct staff to implement that process for the upcoming 2026 election cycle. At its core, this is intended to be a simple policy formalizing an existing town tradition meant to provide clear annual framework for nominations, review, and recognition, while still allowing the process to be revisited and refined over time if adjustments would improve the clarity, participation, and overall workability for staff and council. Next slide, please. As background, the town has recognized a Citizen of the Year annually since 1991, aside from the COVID-related hiatus. The honoree is typically recognized in connection with the July 4th parade, and the award is intended to highlight inspiring volunteer service and community contributions in Corte Madera. While the recognition itself is longstanding, the town has not previously had a written policy describing how nominations are solicited, how they're reviewed, and then brought forward to council. As a result, the process has tended to vary from year to year. So the purpose of this policy is not to reinvent the tradition, but rather to document a simple, repeatable process that can be used going forward and then adjusted over time if experience will show that refinements would be helpful. Next slide, please. At a high level, the draft policy that is presented to you in the staff report is designed to be simple and practical. It opens nominations to both the public and community organizations, establishes a selection committee that would review eligible nominations, and sets out basic eligibility rules and review criteria, and provides a clear path for the selected honoree to be recognized by town council in advance of our July 4th celebration. The intent is to create enough structure to make the process clear and consistent without making it so rigid that it can't evolve if better approaches are identified in future years. Next slide, please. The policy also lays out a straightforward annual timeline. I had proposed that nominations would generally open on March 1st and close on April 15th. Staff would then review submissions for eligibility, prepare summary materials, and coordinate a selection committee meeting in late April or early May with the goal to have the selected honoree then be recognized at a council meeting in late May or most likely early June in time for the July 4th celebration. For this year, since we're already into March, staff is proposing a slightly adjusted nomination window of, if council approves this policy tonight, it would be advertised beginning this Friday, March 20th, and then run through Friday, April 17th. And that timeline is intended to make the process predictable and easy to administer while still allowing staff time to make minor scheduling adjustments to align with the council calendar and July 4th planning needs. Next slide, please. The proposed selection committee would now include the mayor, the vice mayor, and one representative from each of the participating community service organizations identified in the policy, with staff serving as a liaison and administrative support. The policy also includes basic eligibility standards and review criteria to help guide the discussion and maintain consistency. For example, current council members, commissioners, town employees, and recent recipients would not be eligible, and nominations based primarily on paid employment would also be excluded unless they clearly relate to volunteer service beyond that role. At the same time, it preserves flexibility, and it allows up to 2 honorees in the event of a tie, allows recognition of a group or team when appropriate, which, as I noted in the staff report, has happened twice in 2007 and 2017, and in rare cases allows a lifetime achievement recognition instead of a Citizen of the Year award, which has also happened from time to time when council and the committee has wanted to honor someone for their full body of work when they had already previously received a Citizen of the Year award. So while the process is being formalized, the policy still leaves room for practical judgment and future refinement. Next slide, please. In terms of financial impact, no direct fiscal impact is anticipated. Primary impact is staff time related to outreach, nomination, intake, and preparation of nominee materials, support for one council committee meeting, and preparation of one council presentation item each year. Any recognition costs would be minimal and absorbable within existing budgets and likely just related to purchase of a plaque and maybe some buntinis to have a little party in the lobby for the honoree. The policy is also intended to be workable and flexible over time. If improvements are identified through use, staff can return with recommended refinements. I may already be seeing a refinement. 6 weeks might be a little long for a nomination window, but we'll see how, if council agrees with this policy, we'll see how we do with a 3-week window this time. And next slide, please. And closing and questions. Overall, the proposed policy is intended to preserve a valued town tradition by putting a simple, workable process into writing while still allowing the town to evaluate and refine that process over time as needed. This concludes my summary and my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions or receive council direction.
Thank you very much. Starting on this end, Councilman Andrews.
Yeah, I'm looking at the draft nominating form, and it has a deadline of April 20th, 2026. Is that locked in or?
No, it is not. That was just a draft of a form. I'm proposing, originally I had thought maybe a window of March 1st to April 15th would be a good window, but I really think it needs to probably be closer to 3 weeks. Even when we include information in our newsletters, I know that our staff that works on newsletters says that information gets stale quickly and gets overlooked if it's repeated week after week. So I'm thinking a 3-week window might be appropriate. For this year, since we're getting a late start, I was suggesting opening the nomination window Friday, March 20th, and then having it run through Friday, April 17th, but open to suggestions.
What was the end date?
April 17th, a Friday.
Okay.
Or it could be earlier.
I'll have suggestions.
Okay. Oh, so you'll do that when you have questions for at the end of comments. Okay. More questions? Yes, Council Member Ravazio.
You have gotten so good at this. You have, this has been herding cats. You've been herding cats every year for many years. And I think you finally figured it out. Thank you so much. This goes back to Beth Benz. There was one lady in town who knew everybody, and all she did was call the previous 5 winners and say, who should it be this year? And they finally ran out of people, and then they all died. So, but we didn't want this to go away. So it's so great that Rebecca has figured this out. I have just one concern. I don't think we should have flexibility of ties. I think you should have, just my opinion, there should be an odd number of people on the committee, because to have 2 Citizens of the Year doesn't really give it to either one of them. You know, they were tied. So just my feeling. And then you have to do all that extra work for both of them because it's getting a car and all of that stuff. And so
That
that's
is
my
a
only
fair point.
concern. But good work, Rebecca. This looks really good. I'm excited.
Okay. Oh, no comment and no questions. I guess my question is, I understand there's been some challenges getting these different organizations to send a representative to be on the choosing committee. So what do we do if we end up with not all of the, committees sending someone? And what's the minimum? I mean, do we want a minimum number of people making the decision?
I think we can get a representative there. I
Okay.
think with enough early notice, the first year that we tried this model, it worked well. I think in the next 2 years, I think we got too late of a start. I think ideally, and I did send emails out to each of the member organizations to just let them know this was on the agenda for discussion. Do they have any concerns? I think with enough notice, we can get attendance. And I think ideally, when this nomination period goes out, I will also send the notices to each of the organizations and ask that they help distribute it and that they discuss it at their next meeting. And I believe the nominating or the selection committee the representative should be either the president or chair or someone the body designates formally.
Okay.
I think they should have a formal designation to be that decision maker. So that's why I would like it discussed. And then at that same time, each of those groups can discuss who they would like their 1 or 2 or 3, what names they want to bring to the selection committee.
Right. And I'm assuming that they won't only be from these bodies, that I'm hoping that, people from the Community Foundation or Beautification or whatever also know people from other organizations or just other people who are doing good things, that we would get nominations, not just from within those bodies. And I'm just wondering.
That is the hope, because there is a lot of cross-pollination between those bodies as well, and multiple people serve on multiple organizations. But also that's, I think, the intriguing part about opening up nominations to the public, and hope that those unsung heroes out there in the community doing great work that maybe don't belong to any of those organizations can rise to the top and be recognized.
Right. Great. It sounds good. All right, then. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not have hands raised from our attendees online or emailed public comment for this item.
Hey, I'm surprised. Anyway, go ahead. You're about to say something.
You need a motion.
No, I was going to say that I did receive a comment personally from somebody who had said that they hope the honoree gets a party of some sort.
I'm all for parties. Yeah. Okay.
And I was just going to ask, kind of in that same vein, I would love if there was some low cost way that we could like immortalize our winners, like a little wall of fame in town hall or in the community center or something would be really nice.
I had mentioned that to Rebecca before about if we could get a plaque with just, Citizen of the Year and just the name in the year and do it that way.
The little
We go back
brass
to
plaque that gets
2004.
engraved every year.
That's when I was citizen.
I'm sorry, Rebecca.
I think this place makes a great party place. I think we found from MCCMC that this is a great place to throw a party for our citizens.
Hold on a second, guys.
Yes.
As my mother used to say, we can sing together, but we can't all talk. So,
I just have one other.
so I
other
like,
quick-
well, yeah, eventually. But right now, someone was talking. I think you were saying
Eli
something.
and I were having a sidebar conversation, and my suggestion was
It's not permitted.
let's get a big board, maybe a 1 by 2 inch brass plaque with the name and year, and start populating it. And if you can dig out some history on previous winners,
I have a list.
Yeah.
it'll make it look like a traditional institution as opposed to a new deal that we just created.
Okay, well, that'll be great, but for another time when we've agendized that matter. But right now, you had one more thing?
Yeah, just one more thing. I would just make sure when you send it out to the public that somehow you make sure that people don't get mixed up with business citizen of the year and people start submitting business owner type thing. I mean, if they're resident in Corte Madera, it may work, but that distinguishes between what the chamber does and citizen part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Right. That brings me to one more thing, and I had mentioned it to Adam, but I forgot to bring it up here, is that in the requirements, I think we want to say that they must be a resident of Corte Madera, because there are people who do things, who come and do things outside of, who live outside Corte Madera, but serve Corte Madera. But I'm just wondering if we want to specifically say that they must be residents of Corte Madera.
That is a very
definitely
good question.
But
I would love to hear thoughts on that. And I would also like to hear thoughts on an appropriate window for a nomination period, if 3 weeks is about good. And then there was the question about the tie. If council is in agreement with that, then I can strike the tie. And possibly, I think Adam and I were talking about having an odd number, and maybe it might make sense to invite the previous year's winner recipient of the award to also serve on the selection committee.
Mhm.
So those are the 3 things I would
I
like.
think we thought that was a nice way to also honor
Yes.
the winner.
Yes. All right, then. So we have 3 things to discuss. Keep me on track, please, Lorena. So the first thing is the matter of the tie, the matter of a citizen, because that's we have
Residency.
residency, and then the matter of, there was one more thing.
time
you
limit.
mentioned, and the time limit. Okay, so who would like to start with some thoughts on either or all of those?
I think I've already spoken on it. I think it should be a Corte Madera resident. I think it would be weird, even though I was thinking of some great volunteers from Larkspur who do work here. If we were to name them Corte Madera Citizen of the Year, I think they'd throw tomatoes at us.
I would agree with that.
I'm not sure how the grand marshal of the parade is identified, but I think if there's an avenue to nominate somebody who does work in both jurisdictions, that maybe that might be a good avenue for recognizing that individual.
Yeah, I think that's good. Any other thoughts on that? Councilmember Andrews.
Let me see the tiebreaker. Somebody
Oh,
suggested the prior year's winner.
yes.
Works for me.
Works for me. Okay. Yeah, so I think we have 2 points of direction so far. Yes, they should be residents of Corte Madera, and the tiebreaker or the extra person should be the previous year's winner.
Make 7 on the committee.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, or a previous winner.
And then as far as a nomination period, I can just use my discretion to decide how long that should be.
Right, because I think this year is a little bit different because we're working on it right now.
And I need to make sure that it gets properly noticed and get out to the community.
Okay. And that we also have time to see them here at the council and to bestow upon them the great honor. All right. All right, then. So I think, is there any other direction you would be wanting this evening?
We did list this as a consideration and approval, so I'm not sure if a formal vote would be needed or if it's more of a direction to staff, but if
I think we should have
a formal approval possible.
Yeah, we would want a formal approval, I think,
With-
and with those
With the modification.
with the direction received on those 3 items. Yeah.
So I can make the motion to approve the policy for the nomination selection process for the annual selection of Citizen of the Year with the noted changes coming from council to staff.
And I'll second.
Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman,
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Getting business done here. All right. So now we move on to council reports, starting with our town manager, Adam Wolf.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just a couple for you tonight. First off, I think I mentioned to you all last time the Small Business Administration was going to be here last week. They were in this room all last week, and was happy to hear actually they had 37 visitors during the week, and actually 7 applications for loans were submitted, which I think is important. I'll try to get the stats for the entire period, not just in Corte Madera, but I think that shows that there's interest in that program and people taking advantage of it is good news. And they were very comfortable and impressed by this facility. So it's nice to see. We also have East Field construction starting about on April 1st. So you'll start to see some removal of sod, replacement, and then replanting. So that's exciting. I think if you look out at the park right now, they just took the fencing off. Soccer just started, I think, this week. And if they took the fencing off, it looks amazing out there. I will just say the fields are in great shape. So thanks to our maintenance team and the additional work that our public works department is doing and just on enhanced maintenance, it's really paying off, I think. And then I did want to mention this is related to Transportation Authority of Marin. Just a heads up, the expenditure plan, this is the every 6 years per the half-cent sales tax measure that was passed back in 2018. Every 6 years, the expenditure plan for that money goes through an approval process at the TAM board. Ultimately, that has to be approved by each of the member agencies of Transportation Authority of Marin. So there is a meeting coming up on March 26th where the board will weigh in on that expenditure plan. And then if that's approved there, it will come back to each of our jurisdictions around the county to also approve and weigh in on that before going into effect on July 1st. I think Marin managers are also having a discussion on this on Thursday, but we'll see that. I'm just going to give a heads up that will come back to the council later this spring for a consideration. And with that, I think we're also going to be discussing RVPA, but I think Councilmember Casissa has a report on that, so I'll let you report on that, or we can do it together when time comes, but let me know. Okay. I will just say we're actively discussing another, basically there's a proposal to amend the JPA agreement right now that is being floated to staff at this time. I've been in discussions with Ross Valley Paramedic Authority staff, going to continue discussions with other staff as well. Chris Petlock has been involved, Ruben Martin, of course, our chief. And so there is a proposal to amend that JPA. Similarly, that would be proposed right now is to be discussed at the April 20th board meeting. I think I have reservations about how quickly that's going to be discussed, given some significant changes are proposed, and particularly as it affects Corte Madera. More on that to come, but working closely as well with Councilmember Casissa as the representative to the council on that. So, but similarly, that process would be consideration potentially at the April 20th board meeting, and then they're asking member jurisdictions as well to consider that JPA amendment at an upcoming council meeting after that date, probably later in spring, but we'll see. Exact timing, we'll report back on exact timing of that consideration.
Oh, go ahead. Councilmember Andrews.
To report, and most of you were there, is Chamber of Commerce had a reception at Super Duper Burger, and it was very good, fantastic. And one bit of good news I was able to entice out of the staff there is that the sales are ahead of what they anticipated. So that's, whenever there's a startup, you're afraid that things won't work out, and it appears that it's working out fairly well for them. So
Super duper. All right.
On March 10th, I had a Central Marin Sanitation Agency board meeting. On March 12th, I also attended the Chamber Mixer. Over the last weekend, I attended the Civic Well Climate Policy Conference in Yosemite, where Don Weiss, who is the CEO of MCE Clean Energy, presented about our work in the North Bay on virtual power plants, which was really fantastic. And then on March 16th, we had an MCE special board meeting, and that is all I have to report.
All right.
And I had a couple things. The Legislative Committee of the MCCM is now meeting in person, 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday in San Rafael, all because of the Brown Act claims against us. So we are now open to the public, and nobody is there, of course. I also attended a Marin Healthy Youth Partnership. They are so grateful to Corte Madera. They know we kind of led the charge on the tobacco thing, and they're very grateful to us. And the only other thing I did was help host the Lions Club crab feed, which was really quite amazing. Fred Casisa helped out. I threw a hammer at him when he walked in because the crab wasn't cracked, and we didn't know the crab was coming uncracked. So Fred and others were just pounding away at 275 pounds of crab. But it was great. The Corte Madera Football Club, which I understand raised money to help support the fields, sent 8 of their players to be our servers. They wore their team uniforms, and they were so good that at the end of the night, they passed around a tip jar, and they walked out with over $900 from the tip jar. So those were some happy community members, and it was really nice to see the community together again after 7-year gap after COVID. Was when they used to do it every year. And now that we've done it again, my guess is it'll happen in another 7 years. I don't know. It was doing a crab feed is a lot of work. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Casisa.
Thanks. On 3/5, I attended our VPA meeting. Again, Adam kind of spoke about other stuff that's going on. One thing I'd just like to state, they did give us stats for 2025. So just to put it in perspective, and this is only Medic 14 out of Corte Madera. For 2025, they had almost 2,300 runs.
Wow.
Out of those 2,300, 40% were Larkspur and about 39% were Corte Madera. The other 20%, it's a smattering because Medic 14 runs throughout the county if somebody is short. That could be anywhere from Sausalito up to Novato, out to Woodacre, San Geronimo, out that area. And to put it further in perspective, of those runs, 50% were in the age group of 60 to 89. And out of that, 38% were in the age group of 70 to 89. So I think it just demonstrates our older population, so it's all relative. On 3/12, I attended a D3 Disaster and Citizen Corps meeting, which I co-chair with Supervisor Adani. 2 things there. We passed a document. It's called Friends and Relative Center / Family Assistance Center Annex. And Steve Torrance, if anybody doesn't know him, he's great. He's head of OEM. He basically created a document where if there is any type of mass casualty, whether that be a shooting, whether it be a plane crash, this document, they've set up centers. Through those centers, people can go, their friends, family, relatives. They'll have counseling there. They may have law enforcement there, DA office, again, depending on what the situation is. But he's also even figured it down to how do you split people that have surviving family members versus those that may be deceased. So he's thought about that. How do you split out the press? He's very detailed oriented, and they actually ran a drill on this. They had a whole day drill, which was extremely successful. And then the other thing also is we also passed a 2006 Emergency Operations Plan. That will go to the Board of Supervisors for approval. Part of that plan is there will be a template for towns and cities. So I think ours is 2014, or it's outdated. This will help update it. And it'll be a template, so it should be easy to follow. 3/12, I went to the chamber event, and then Pat mentioned on 3/14. It's funny. My first job when I was 16 was cracking crab at Alioto's number 8 down Fisherman's Wharf. 16 years old, that skill set came back. So it all worked out. A little bit different, but the skill set was there. And that's it. Thanks.
All right, so not the busiest couple of weeks for me, but I did meet with a number of citizens about things on their minds. I won't go into all of those, but other than that, I was at the Mixer for Super Duper Burger. It was very, very well attended. Kind of got to a slow start, but it really filled out. And I'm happy to hear that they are doing well. They deserve it. They have really, really serve a great product. So great products. So the final thing we need to look at is the draft agenda for the upcoming meeting on April 7th. Does anyone have any suggestions for items they would like to be on that agenda? Oh, okay then. Well, with that, we are adjourned.